Dear reader, I'm Tony and this is Book Text. And this video is going to be the Shakespeare Tag, which was created by Libby Stevenson, and I will link to her original tag video down below. But first, our word of the day on theme with Shakespeare is the word out-villain, which was first recorded and presumably coined by Shakespeare in the play All's Well That Ends Well, and it means, rightfully so, to exceed or outdo someone in villainy. So to out-villain someone. And I can think of some characters in literature that out-villain other villains. Can you name any in the comments below, please? So today's tag, conveniently I didn't even realize this until I woke up this morning. I'm filming and hopefully uploading this video on April 23rd, which is commonly assumed to be Shakespeare's birthday. So happy birthday to the Bard. Okay, there are 10 questions, and I really had to write down my answers because some of them are quite detailed. Question number 1, what was your first exposure to Shakespeare? So other than using the language that he heavily influenced, it was probably watching The Lion King when I was really little, because that was, of course, inspired by Hamlet, or possibly performing as Gertrude in middle school. I was very good at dying. Question number 2, which Shakespeare plays and poems have you read? Because I studied English literature in college and graduate school, I was exposed to a lot of Shakespeare, so I've probably read all of his poems and many of his plays, but I'm actually embarrassed to say that I have not read as many as I thought when I wrote up my list. So, ones that I remember reading: Midsummer Night's Dream, Much Ado About Nothing, Twelfth Night, Taming of the Shrew, Tempest, Winter's Tale, Henry IV Parts 1 and 2, Henry V, and I recently learned that the Henry plays are called the Henriad. So I've read the Henriad, Hamlet, Julius Caesar, King Lear, Macbeth, Othello, Romeo and Juliet, and probably a few others that I studied in school and probably forgot right after the test. Question number 3, what have you seen either on stage or on film? Because I live near 2 universities with amazing arts programs, I get to see a lot of Shakespeare being performed on stage. And there's a local open air Shakespeare drama company that does surprisingly good Shakespeare improv. And each actor will memorize all of the parts of the play, and then they're kind of focused on one play every summer, and then members of the audience will choose who plays which part, and then they throw in some kind of funky aspects of it, the time period or the location, and then of course the players will adapt as hilarious. So I get to see a lot of Shakespeare locally, but I've seen a lot of versions or adaptations, both film and stage, of Midsummer Night's Dream, Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Twelfth Night, one of my favorites to watch, Taming of the Shrew, Much Ado About Nothing, the Henriad, and Macbeth, probably others like I mentioned. I have not kept good track of how many plays I've been to. Now, question number 4, do you have a favorite edition of the complete works? You saw it in the thumbnail. I have a giant illustrated edition of all the plays. It is massive and so fun to read, and it currently serves as a display piece in my front room so that people can come by and be amazed. But here it is, the complete illustrated Shakespeare. I'm actually not sure which versions of these plays are in here. I know that there's different quartos and folios and things, and I'm not sure. Does it say in here? Not that I can tell really quickly, but let me just see if I can flip open conveniently to a page that has some illustrations. So here's an illustration from King John. And it's so fun to open this up and read. I feel like I'm in an ancient library or something. I don't know. I love it. So that's my favorite edition. Question number 5. What is your favorite comedy? Twelfth Night. I don't know what it is about Twelfth Night. I've seen so many different adaptations and I love it every time I see it. Even She's the Man. Love She's the Man. That was my favorite movie in college. My roommates and I would watch it almost every week. Did I have anything more to say about Twelfth Night? Oh, I have some thoughts about Malvolio, who is usually treated in every adaptation as a fool. But I once saw an adaptation at a school where I realized that he was quite a tragic character. And so I have some thoughts on Malvolio. Question number 6. What is your favorite history? Henry V. So rousing. It also helps me to understand kind of the motivations behind a lot of the wars that we study in medieval European history. Question number 7. Favorite tragedy? Julius Caesar. There's just something about the theme of betrayal that is so intriguing to me. It's just makes for some really deep literature. Question number 8. Least favorite play. I feel that I don't know enough of them to be able to say I have a least favorite. So I'm going to cheap out on that one. I'll think about it after I've read some more plays. Question number 9. Which play would you want to direct? I have some thoughts on A Winter's Tale, which I've never actually seen it performed, but I really love reading it and kind of imagining the wintry scenery that might show up on stage. And also the scene where the statue comes to life. Oh, I would just love to see that perform. So I have some thoughts on how it should happen. Question number 10. Which lesser known play do you think deserves more attention? Or which lesser known play are you most excited about? Probably Winter's Tale, just because I don't see it talked about very much or performed very often. I don't know if it's lesser known, but it seems like I don't see it a lot in popular culture. So bonus question, if relevant, what is your favorite play to teach or perform? I've only performed once in Hamlet when I was in the 7th or 8th grade. And that was fun, but I'm not much of a performer. But I am a university instructor. My specialty is technically writing courses, but I did once teach a literature course at a technical college. So it was kind of pushing the limit to try to teach Shakespeare in the drama unit. So we read Henry V and watched the Hollow Crown adaptation, and my students fell in love with it. They started to memorize and quote the speeches to me, and I just couldn't have been happier about the whole experience. So those are my answers to the questions. I actually have one more thing that I'd like to say about Shakespeare, which is, have you ever heard Shakespeare in its original pronunciation, or it's called OP? So cool. So Shakespeare was writing during the great vowel shift of the English language, which is kind of an over-dramatized phenomenon in which the long vowels changed how they were pronounced. For example, the word bite originally was pronounced beat and slowly became bite. And I'll link below to a Wikipedia page that lets you listen to the kind of the subtle changes throughout each century on how different long vowels were pronounced. So Shakespeare's vowels were pronounced quite differently than they are modernly, and how they were performed would have sounded much different, and things would have rhymed that don't rhyme today. So there are a couple of people who have been promoting original pronunciation, especially for Shakespeare to be pronounced or to be performed, in the OP, and they have posted some really interesting videos where you can hear the OP. And so that's Ben Crystal, who was a delightful linguist, and his actor son, David Crystal. And so they discuss OP in some tantalizing YouTube videos that I will also link below. Watch them fall in love with OP. Okay, so check those out. Consider yourself tagged. If you've ever thought about Shakespeare or read Shakespeare, if you just love language, if you've seen some plays, please consider yourself tagged. I'll list the 10 questions and the bonus question in the description below. I want to know your Shakespeare experience. Let's experience him together. Remember, there's always another book.